Okay, so actually, Pearl, you're going to be the first up, but let me go ahead and introduce the session. I feel somewhat out of place as I've noticed that most of the moderators are female. However, climate change is an area that, excuse me, I feel is really, really important. Just to give you guys a little bit of a background, I've got somewhat of an eclectic background. I've been an entrepreneur. I've been a faculty member, ran an entrepreneurship center, a small business development center, and served as a dean at a business school. But right now I'm retired, and to keep myself busy, I'm the managing editor of the Journal of the International Council for Small Business, which we would invite you folks to consider submitting articles, even based on your presentations today, because we're trying to focus on the link between more traditional academic research and practitioner, right down to the, making it happen. And one of the things that I've learned over the years is that the small business, the micro and small business community is really the foundation of not just economies, but societies and communities. And it's very, very difficult because there are so many of us, and they far outnumber the larger companies, particularly in developing countries. And that's where a lot of really ground level innovation takes place. And it's my belief that this is what's going to carry us into the future. It's not going to be the large corporations who come and go, but the smaller businesses that are perpetuated through families and communities. And women are playing a larger and larger role, both formally and informally. And so I'm really, really excited to hear what our panelists have to say about what's happening in their sphere, if you will, contributing to climate change, which I think the folks at the United Nations would agree is linked to a number of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And that's, I think, what we're really most interested in is how do we help micro and small businesses improve their performance and improve their sustainability. So I'm going to let the speakers introduce themselves. The only question I have is whether I should be running the PowerPoints or whether you would like to share your own. Pearl? I think you're...
That's better.
Okay,
yeah, I'm muted now. So I'll give it a try, Jeffrey. Let me share my screen.
There you are.
Oh, so it was a slideshow. Is that better? Great. Okay.
So each speaker is going to have about 10 minutes. And I know with what you have to share, it's likely to go over that, but that's fine.
I will do my best.
We do want to save about 10 minutes at the end for questions and answers.
Fantastic,
okay? I'm going to go ahead and mute, and Pearl, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, so good afternoon, good morning to everyone. My name is Pearl Uzokwe. I am the Director for Governance and Sustainability for an energy company called Sahara Group. We are headquartered, just a bit of background, headquartered in Nigeria, Africa, but we operate out of 4 continents, just to give some context. We are in Africa, Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. Have been operating for 25 years. And the reason for just some of this background is to contextualize. I think for us, one of the strongest advantages is because we're spread across, I'll say, offices in 18, operating out of 38, a lot of it in sub-Saharan Africa. What we are particularly excited about is providing solutions that are fit for purpose, that are not just cut and pasted, so to speak. So seeing this topic, I was pretty excited about it because it gives a chance to just hopefully showcase 1 or 2 examples of solutions that we have proffered from our own private sector angle that we see as potentially moving the needle quite a bit. And believe very much in the power of partnership and collaboration, and SMEs. And thank you, Jeffrey, for setting the scene But just by way of background, I heard what you said about the percentages with SMEs. If I use Nigeria, where Sahara Group is headquartered, the GDP for Nigeria, 90% of Nigeria's GDP is contributed by the private sector. Of the 90% that's contributed, we have about 48% of that basically comes from the small, medium-sized businesses contributing to Nigeria's GDP. So please think about those figures, 48%, 90% private sector to Nigeria's GDP. I think at this particular point, I mean, it goes without, sorry, let me go back to slideshow. Yep, okay. So like I was saying, seeing those figures for us, I can speak from the private sector angle. I think it goes without contention that climate change is absolutely pivotal. When it comes to Nigeria, we have various examples for that. We've got catastrophic flooding, we have deforestation, we have monumental erosion, you know, the list goes on. So it's not even in contention that it is happening. But I'd like to give an example of something that we've done within the group. And we set up an initiative called the Green Life Initiative a year ago. And the aim of that was just to basically use it as a hub for the various initiatives that are going to be promoting sustainable environments, both within and outside of Sahara Group. And I'll speak about one of these initiatives in particular because of the high percentage of women that it affects and women that are involved in this initiative and how we think that it moves the needle as climate change is concerned. So what we decided to do is, because we have a concept where with the Sahara Foundation, which basically is the vehicle for carrying out all our various initiatives, corporate, personal and corporate social responsibility initiatives, we ensure that there's a core sustainability function included in it. So we have a recycle waste to wealth scheme that was introduced in a particular community where the average income is $1.70 a day for at least 80–90% of the population. And one thing that's always for certain is this is where it's important for us to contextualize and provide solutions that are fit for purpose. If you go into a community like that where a majority, probably over 50% of them are not as educated, like I said, on $1.70 a day, and start speaking to them about just climate change in those words, your message will be lost on arrival. So what we decided to do was, looking at the environment, so decided we're going to ensure that we're introducing a concept that would be hitting on various elements, but at the same time solving a problem that we had seen there. So I mentioned catastrophic flooding as one of the ways in which we've seen climate change affect things in Nigeria. We've seen that really decimate that particular community. We've seen that one of the major causes of that was plastic pollution. And we had seen that there was also an attendant nexus between all that pollution, high flooding, and illnesses like malaria, where flooded gutters and poor drainage was basically leading to increased cases of malaria and things like typhoid and cholera. We decided we would go for a solution that would be dealing with one of the effects of climate change, but also providing them with empowerment alongside that. And we've had pretty monumental success for that, and just in partnering with what we felt was a social innovator who focused not just on impact, but also on profitability. And it's a company called Recyclers. So they've been doing this successfully for almost a decade. They're the foremost recycle company here in Nigeria. And working alongside them, we've been able to establish a recycle hub in this community where we have approximately 90% of the women there, 10% male, coming in and dropping off plastic that would otherwise be clogging up drainage and just causing different problems with health, but being able to exchange that for monetary gain. But at the same time, more importantly, we've also partnered with Lagos state agencies where we want them to come in at a second phase and start to offer things like health insurance. And in addition, also working with financial institutions where we start to get these people financially included and get them bank accounts and ATM cards that basically have zero charges on them. So that's one of the first initiatives that we have run at Sahara Group, and we'll continue to replicate, because it was a case of starting this and then being able to very quickly replicate in the various countries that we operate out of. But if we just look at some of the statistics and why we felt this was important, in Lagos alone, we're generating 13,000 tons of waste every single day. 30% of that waste is sent into dump sites. It's pretty unsustainable. We know what the greenhouse gas emissions will be like in that situation. I spoke about the flooding, I spoke about further pollution, and we very much believe in partnership, because when you go into communities like this and you're looking for initiatives to carry out, you want to ensure that you have buy-in of the community. So we were speaking with not just, for example, the youth leaders in the community, had buy-in from the cultural leader who's like called like the Oba of that particular place, the chief in charge. So he could see the benefit that it would bring to their community and would happily give you, for example, land allocations to situate the recycle hub. And working alongside partners like the health agencies or health insurance schemes that will help in exchanging with the recycle company that we've partnered with, and using technology, ensuring that these people are getting monetary funds or getting health benefits and additional add-on initiatives as we go along in exchange for plastic. So it was one way in which we felt that we could hit one of the deliverables for climate change, but passing it on in a manner that was fit for the environment that we're doing this in. So if you could tell me, Jeffrey, how am I doing for time? Because I had one more initiative to speak about, but maybe I'll wait until the next person's had a chance. Jeffrey?
I think you're, this is Ayman Tarabishi. I think you're doing okay with time. You have maybe a couple more minutes.
Okay, so that's good. So that's one way we were thinking about it. And then for us on another level again, and this usually, again, SDG 17 is one of our favorites. We like to say at Sahara Group, and that's the beauty of partnerships. So with climate change and the space that we basically operate out and our drive to basically encourage and promote sustainable environments, we've launched a Sahara Impact Fund. We come together with the Ford Foundation and an organization called Leap Africa, which is very much focused on mindset orientation for social innovators that we have on this year-long program. So in a nutshell, we know that we're basically looking for social innovators who are able to give us impact plus profit, because again, like I mentioned, we've seen that in climates like this, the private sector is critically important, and the ability to be able to have entities that are running and are profitable definitely it improves the sustainability of the said organization or innovation, whatever else it is. So we are very much focused on encouraging and attracting applications from individuals like that. So it's in its first stage, and we're very excited about it because we do have partners that are equally enthusiastic. We are looking to be basically impact about 1,500 beneficiaries in the first year, and looking to replicate it year on year. So we're very much focused alongside with the Ford Foundation and ensuring that we encourage applicants, female applicants, to this initiative. And having just gone through the second stage, we're really encouraged by the amount of applicants that we've seen from this particular part of the continent. So I just thought I would raise that as well as a second initiative. So I will stop here for now.
Yeah, this is great. I think Jeff is having some technical issues here, but thank you very much. Okay. I appreciate it. This is amazing what you're doing here. Linda says hi, by the way.
Hello, Linda.
So she sends a message. She says hi.
Hello.
All right. So I'm back, Ayman.
Hi, Jeff. Okay, good.
Very interesting what you're doing there in Nigeria, and I think it sets a model for how to approach at the very basic level some of these sustainability issues. So my hat's off to you. We'll circle back with questions at the end of the presentation. Fatoumata?
Fatoumata?
Great. How are you? Welcome.
I'm doing great, Jeff. And you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. You're up next.
Okay.
We've got about 10 minutes.
Okay.
Give or take. And then Nidia is gonna wrap up, and then we'll have Q&As. So you have a presentation. Do you want to share it, or do you want me to share it?
Yes, actually, I would be sharing it.
Okay, great.
Yeah, just allow me to see.
One of the things that I enjoy about conferences like this is that we get
So,
really great ideas from
yeah,
around the world.
Yeah, Jeff, are you able to see the presentation now?
Yes, you're up.
Okay, all right. First of all, I would like to thank the ICSB for organizing this important conference and allowing reuniting women from around the world to share their experience. I'm very delighted to participate in this panel, actually. I'm Fatou Diarrassouba. I am from Cote d'Ivoire, and I am co-founder of Afrik'Energy Connect, which is a startup specializing in productive uses of renewable energy. And I will actually discuss the importance of using sustainable energy to mitigate climate change with a focus on sub-Saharan Africa. So first of all, let's look at some statistics in sub-Saharan Africa. There are about 580 million people in this region without access to electricity, and about 890 million people without access to clean cooking. So the access to electricity is about 47.7%, with large disparities in urban versus rural areas. We have the access to electricity, which is about 78.1% in urban areas, while it's about 31.5% in rural areas. And the lack of access to electricity imposes significant constraints on modern economic activities, the provision of public services, and quality of life. And as we all know, most conventional electricity generation, that is electricity generated through the combustion of fossil fuels like natural gas, oil, and coal, contributes significantly to the pollution of the environment. And one way of reducing air pollution is through the use of renewable energy sources, such as solar energy, wind energy, geothermal energy, hydropower, or bioenergy. Renewables contribute significantly to reducing carbon emission from electricity generation. And access to clean and sustainable energy is crucial in tackling climate change and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. And actually, this fact is highlighted in goal number 7, which calls for affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy by 2030. And one of the main motivations that led to the creation of my startup is the will to be able to contribute to global efforts aimed at tackling climate change with a focus on Africa. So Afrik'Energy Connect was founded this year and is based in Liberia. As I said before, we specialize in productive uses of renewable energy. Our vision is to contribute to reducing existing gaps of energy deficit in Africa by providing products that operate on solar energy, in particular solar water pumps, solar home systems, and clean cooking appliances. Our main goal is to increase energy access in West Africa. Now, allow me to share with you some advantages of using this product operating on solar energy. The solar water pump is beneficial for households living in very remote areas and who often have to travel very long distance to procure safe drinking water. The solar water pump can supply enough water for a household and their livestock, while the excess water can be used for irrigation. The solar home systems allow users to recharge their cell phones, listen to radios, or watch TV, in addition to having a source of light that is generated from clean and pure energy. Clean cooking has tremendous health benefits, in addition to reducing air pollution, as it reduces the risk of respiratory illnesses. And there's a report from Sustainable Energy for All, which indicated that replacing outdated stoves and open fires would save the lives of 800,000 children who die each year from exposure to indoor pollution. So in light of all these facts, we definitely must intensify efforts and raise more awareness about the use of renewables to save our environment. And at Afrik'Energy Connect, we are open to collaboration with everyone interested to increase energy access in West Africa. So I would like to thank everyone for your attention. Merci.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Again, this is an example of taking product based on research and applying it at the very basic and local level, which is really, really important. And it reminds me that Sub-Saharan Africa, there's a lot of innovation and creativity that's happening there that the rest of the world doesn't know about.
Exactly.
And it's really amazing. We're running a little bit ahead of schedule, but that's fine because that'll give us more time at the end for discussion. Nidia Martínez is our last speaker.
No, Jeff, I'm sorry, Jeff, you forgot
Yes.
when you skipped one. It's Analia Pastran. I think you scanned over her name and the section. So go ahead with Analia Pastran.
Analia?
Analia, yeah.
Analia, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were on our list. My apologies. So why don't we go ahead and do yours? You want to share your presentation? Or do you want me to? Because I don't have it.
No problem. I will do it. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Give me 1 second. Okay. Well, thank you all. I would like to share with you what we are doing. I'm the founder and CEO of Smartly, as a social enterprise that localize and communicate the sustainable development goals in Latin America. And we work especially regarding climate change, doing different actions with public sector and academia, with universities too. When we started to work this theme, we would like to analyze how is the consumerism globally, and how was the scenarios and the crises that we have to go through. And one of the first studies that really took our attention, it was this global footprint network medition that is being made since the late 70s. And it measures how is the resources of the Mother Earth that can be produced per year, and what is the relation of the our habitats, people, how we consume those resources of Mother Earth that are produced by that year. So by the end of the 70s, we could observe that we used to consume the resources of the planet by the end of December. Unfortunately, in 2010, this ratio changed, and we started to overconsume the resources of the planet. This year, with the pandemic, we overconsumed the resources by the end of August 22nd. So that took us our attention in terms that what is the responsibility as human beings, as people that we are living in this world, how we need to rethink the way of how we are consuming those resources. Of course, the responsibility is not the same for each country. There are countries that are over-consuming the resources more quickly in the year than others. That depends or is very related to the development of the country. The United States, unfortunately, by the middle of March, we have been over-consumed the resources of Mother Earth. There are other countries that are ending by the end of December. And also, besides the climate change crisis, we have another crisis that arrived this year, that is the COVID-19, that it really affected the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. This COVID-19 pandemic has really affected, of course, the SDG 3, good health and well-being, because it's a virus that affected our health globally, but also affected other SDGs like SDG 5, because according to the estimates of UN Women, 70% of the frontline workers are women, doctors, nurses. So it really affected us as women, this pandemic. And also this COVID-19 affected our logistics, our way of getting jobs, and the capacity of the cities to develop solutions to this unusual and unique situation, among others. But one of the things that, or positive things that this pandemic show us, is that all the solutions, all the innovations that we are thinking, it has to be regarding the SDG 17. We have to create solutions as a network, thinking in a holistic way, all the solutions that we need as in our different societies. But this pandemic also, unfortunately, increases the situation of climate change, the plastic pollution. We're having more masks, more plastics in our oceans, in our rivers, because of course we are trying to solve the urgency of this pandemic, but on the other hand, we are increasing the climate change crisis that we've been trying to solve in some way. So right now we have the opportunity to rethink the cities that we need, the cities and the way that we would like to live. So this pandemic gives us that opportunity. So from Smartly, what we are doing is working the Sustainable Development Goals as the SDGs are like hashtags for public policy that give us the opportunity to increase the partnerships, increase the alliance between each organization, no matter where are you located. But when you are saying, I'm working SDG 5, for example, gender equality, you can connect with other organizations that is doing the same. And in terms of globalization and the huge amounts of organizations that are globally, is a huge opportunity to accelerate the partnerships. So we are doing in Latin America a sustainable entrepreneurship platform. We are connecting those entrepreneurs that are working in a sustainable way, that they are producing in a sustainable way. That means that they are trying to solve these climate change issues and crises, and trying to mitigate the climate change risk, and producing in a sustainable way. For example, I'm showing you this this cup that is, it seems like plastic, but it was made by a compostable with compostable materials, edge, for example. There are different innovations regarding how to replace the plastic that we have in our environment. And also this seems like wood, but those are made by recycled plastic that give us the opportunity to to remove the plastic that we have in the planet. Also, there are different brands that we are connecting from Europe, like this brand, Womsh, is a sneakers brand that they produce in a sustainable way. They have a huge platform also in Europe, and we're trying to connect and accelerate that knowledge from Europe to Latin America. And also here in New York, there is this organic hair salon that they are doing an impressive change in the health, in the salon industry, in the beauty industry, because they are using products that are organic. And that's not only related to the health of the client, also it's related to the health of the workers, the hair salon workers, that they are working in a healthier environment. And why this is so important? Well, because the consumerism is changing, especially millennials and centennials, they are trying to buy in a sustainable way, in a responsible way. So they are looking for products that they are produced in this responsible, with this responsible mindset. So as entrepreneurs, we have a huge opportunity of market. And this is something that is really, it's a trend that is really, is getting globally, and also in not only in the entrepreneurship sector, also in the huge companies that they are trying to do the same, to change the way how they are doing their services, and also they're trying to solve this issue with different brands trying to change their core strategy business to get it more sustainable. I'm going to focus right now. One of the actions that we are really putting our most efforts is regarding an urban legislations to promote and protect the entrepreneurial ecosystem in a sustainable way. We are creating local bills with local governments, with local legislatures, working about for a sustainable legislation that those communities need, because we could do a huge effort from the private sector, but if that's not connected with the public sector, that means that we are thinking in a short term. And especially for our culture in Latin America, it's really essential to think in the legal framework, the public policies that we need to create to make a framework for this new way of producing and consumerism. So we are working especially regarding to protect the pollinators, because pollinators are the core of the food production, the variety of our vegetables, fruits, the things that we eat. So, and unfortunately, pollinators are in really risk. So we are creating urban legislation about this with different local communities of South America, and trying to achieve food security, improving nutrition, and promoting sustainability through, in this case, SDG 2. And lately, but this is one action that I think, Jeff, by the end you could explain more. We are trying to create this special issue about sustainable entrepreneurship through the journal, because we think that in the universities we need to do the change regarding to our students, to our community in the universities, how they could think about to create and develop sustainable entrepreneurship when they are in the university, and when they are thinking about what is their next step as graduates. So we're doing that. And I would like to close my presentation with this picture. I really love it. When I saw it, I realized that's the kind of connection that as human beings, we forgot in some way. This kind of connection that we need to get with the environment, with all the things that we do. And so I would like to close my presentation to this. Please remember that we are very connected with the Mother Nature. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Analia. And I apologize for missing your slot here. Some very interesting examples of what's happening in South and Latin America. And again, I go back to the comment I made earlier about how innovation doesn't necessarily have to come from large or developed countries. In fact, probably the more sustainable ones are going to come from the developing countries. Okay, Nidia, there you are.
Yes, I'm here. I actually have 3 slides, so I'm going to share, see how this works. Are you able to see that?
Yes, thank you.
Let me see. Okay, you're seeing the wrong one. Let me see. Jeff, is it possible that you share instead? I send it to you because I have two screens and this is always a problem for me. Or is this okay?
This is okay.
This is okay.
This is okay? Okay,
Yeah.
then I'll go ahead. Otherwise, I have to. Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm Nidia Martínez. I'm Director of Climate Risk Analytics in Willis Towers Watson, which is a consultant and a broker company. I'm based in New York, but I'm originally from Argentina. I've been in the US for about 10 years. Before that, I lived in Germany for 5 years. As a background, I have a PhD in physical oceanography. And so I was a scientist for a long while there. And then since 7 years now, I've been working in the insurance industry, quantifying the risks to natural catastrophes, physical risks to natural catastrophes and climate, which exacerbates the extreme weather. So today I want to talk to you about, well, I'll speak a little bit about what the company does, but overall about the work we've been doing around climate from a mitigation perspective, also from an adaptation perspective, how we work with different type of companies in the private and public sector globally. So as I said, so Willis Towers Watson, basically is divided in three line of businesses, investment risk and reinsurance, as you see there in yellow, which I'm part of. You would be surprised. I mean, I teach a lecture in one of our universities here in New York, which is about financial sustainability. And they always think, oh, the insurance person is going to come talk to us. This is probably super boring. But you would be very surprised about all the innovation and the really interesting work we do within the industry. So from, quantifying climate in the investment portfolios, risk management, also insurance companies. Insurance companies, we consider them as part of the financial institutions together with banks, asset managements. So we do risk quantification advisory, risk transfer there. You can read it on the left. Then the blue part is the corporate risk and broking, and that would be the big corporations, like for example, I don't even know if this is a client, but I don't know, a Walmart, or I mean, really big corporations that they start caring about their exposure to climate, and they want to understand where they are, how much they are exposed, what's the cost-benefit analysis, what are the investments that they can start doing and making in retrofitting and so on. Also, they care about the workforce. So how do people that come and work for me live? Can they get to work? And I think COVID-19, if it has one silver lining, is that like people are more aware about, their workforce well-being and how, are people able to be productive? And with COVID, we know what the problem is now. But for example, with climate, and if, I have 70% of people commuting to work, are they going to be able to get to work? I mean, or are they going to be living in places where they get flooded more frequently or more intensely, and then they can't get even to the train, to come to the office? And if they do, what is the mental state? How are they going to get there? Are they worried about, their families? So lots of people, CFOs, CROs we talk to, they are starting to think about this, to really think about the problem more holistically. And then the green part, and that's about 40% of the revenue of the company, is human capital and benefits. And as that's where we focus on, really culture and inclusion and diversity. And there is a very strong relationship with climate in all of this. And I was, with my colleague speakers were just talking about everything resonates, right? And we are observing this, that companies that are doing better through the pandemic, and companies and actually communities and small cities, counties, states, and even countries that do better through any crisis are those that think as a community. that they are thinking about, you know, someone else. They are thinking about their behavior, their consumer behavior, but also their human behavior. And as a community, and if you think about COVID-19, we rely on other people. My health depends on how other people behave. Are they wearing a mask? And I have to wear a mask for them. So, but as Analia mentioned, it's, you know, the whole COVID thing is a reactive state, right? Suddenly it's all the masks, and now they are all going to the ocean. So with climate, we really know the science, and even though it's complex, and this is definitely not an official slide from the company, but I think a lot about the climate puzzle, as I like to call it. This is not a puzzle, but it's difficult enough for me. I'm really bad at Legos. And the way we've been thinking about this problem for years, and I mean years, because the IPCC was put together 20 years ago. I mean, everyone, not everyone, but people who work on this know today what the IPCC is in the last 5 years or so. But it's been there for 20 years. And we've been working, right? And it's all this works, right? We talk about science, of course, you know, first at the front. Actually, the most important thing is people. And we talk about science, mitigation, adaptation, policy, renewables, Analia just talked about, and regulation. We talk about global warming and also extreme weather. We talk about the chronic risks as like sea level rise, heat waves. We talk about acute risks like the hurricanes being more intense, more frequent and stronger precipitations. We saw Harvey affecting Houston last year. No one was expecting that. The catastrophe models are not built like that. Catastrophe models don't even have precipitation from hurricanes in their models. So we've been talking about, you know, cost-benefit analysis, recycling. I mean, all of these things, they're finally coming together, and we are understanding, from an analytical perspective at least, how to address this problem. So the way we do it is we use science, and we try to understand nature and where the exposure are. And exposure can be, as I said before, you know, supermarkets or big corporates, or it can be, you know, where people live if we're talking with a government entity. But it could also be how investment portfolio, how the investment managers and banks are investing their portfolios. Pension funds. One thing is for sure is that we all want to retire. So are we going to be able to do it? Well, that depends how the pension funds are investing their money. Do they know where they put the money? If they're investing in a mortgage portfolio, for example, and 70% of those homes are at the coast, and those are going to be in 20 years in time, right? I'm not talking about a year. I'm talking about, you know, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road. It's not a long time. I mean, I can't believe I left Argentina 15 years ago. It seemed to me, it's like it was yesterday. 15 years fast forward, I'm here. It's really not a long time. So if those homes are going to be underwater, then the return of those investments is going to be zero. So the money is not going to be there. So we're encouraging the pension funds in this case, but everyone in the investment industry to think about this problem and to really understand where those are and to start shifting their portfolios into a more sustainable, green, if you will, type of investments, right? Also, if states have zero emissions targets, and that's going to happen. So how is your portfolio going to look like? You need to act today. Let's not do the COVID thing, that when we are all reactive. So coming back to this puzzle, these are all the little parts. We understand the puzzle, so we quantify the risk, we understand where it is, then we do, so how much money you can invest that that is going to be worth it over time. And then there's always residual risk. There's always risk, losses that we can quantify very well in insurance because we are all risk managers. What are you going to do with those losses? And then the residual risk. So, and that is when we talk about risk transfer, right? And there are different ways to do this. Not everyone can afford insurance. People who can afford insurance, we do indemnity. There's micro insurance. There's also the government. We do a lot of financial risk financial disaster, risk finance disaster, and which, you know, are all these pools, like in the Caribbean, we have the African risk capacity and other in the Pacific. So it's all of these different players. But I would say that the issue with climate is it's too difficult. It's too complex, and people often think, you know, they're like, I don't want to think about these things, it's too difficult. So what we're trying to do is to really break that apart into smaller pieces. And you focus on your thing, and then let other people focus on their things. And then we will all really come together into something that is more really sustainable over time. We can certainly do it. We know the science. So we're trying to do that, really break this into little pieces. People don't do well. We don't do well with uncertainty. We don't do well with being alone. We don't do well being, you know, forgetting about nature. So these are, believe it or not, within insurance, this is some of the work we're doing. We're very active. We are also making policy. And then hopefully what these you know, pieces of Lego will put together is something, it will look like something like this. And I love this picture because, well, it shows South America. I'm biased. I'm very proud. So, but, you know, I tend to say something that, you know, people here might not like, but I'm like, you know, it's not about saving the planet. That's what I tend to say, because it is, of course, about saving the planet, but it's about understanding the two pieces. One is, let's stop damaging the planet. We have to do that so we don't get to the point of no return, where nothing we do is going to matter. So that part we need to do. But it's also about all those things that we've already done to the planet. And now things are happening, extreme weather is happening. Then we need to understand that so we can invest in risk mitigation, in adaptation, retrofitting, making use of nature, making use of better use of the forest, for example, of the coral reef, keeping those healthy, and they will protect us in turn. So in that sense, yes, it's about saving the planet, saving ourselves. And I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nidia. That was a good way, I think, to wrap up the panel discussions. You provided us with an overview, but you also acknowledged, and I think very appropriately, that we can't solve the big climate change issue in one fell swoop. It has to be attacked in elements, and our speakers talked about getting down at the very basic level and solving issues at the local level, which will bubble up, if you will, rather than get pushed down. So I thought that was a very, very important point. We've got about 10 minutes for Q&A. There's actually one that's already queued up. Let me go ahead and ask it, and anybody on the panel is welcome to address the issue. Here's the question: what do you think about the effects of meat consumption on the environment with the use of transport, water, and deforestation carried out by this industry? Anybody want to tackle that one?
Well, I can give it a go. So this is something that comes up a lot during the discussions about on emissions, right? We know methane is not, people talk about CO2 and the emissions, but it's also other greenhouse gases. And I think we need to, and transportation, I mean, we need to understand the math around emissions in a comprehensive way. So it's not, oh, I couldn't possibly go to a country like Uruguay or Argentina and say, well, no more cows. I mean, that's not a conversation that is going to go well. It's also not fair, because we need to put things into perspective, because that's how a lot of people make their living, right? And that's how actually the entire economies work. So we need to always, you know, think about all the variables, and yes, there are better, for example, transportation, right? It's not, I'm always laughing on the electric cars when they say zero emissions. I'm like, zero emissions, really? What about the battery? What are you doing? How did you put that together? Zero emissions, I'm sure you watch Netflix. I mean, that's huge emission. So we need to be careful about that. There are better ways to do things and to consume, and that's certainly true, and that's the direction, the overall direction that we need to be going. But I encourage people to be very sensitive about, you know, how other people are living and food security, for example, and in the way we, you know, we have those conversations, because we want to be constructive, but definitely change is needed, and transportation is huge, right? We need more public transportation, and that's simple math. Even my toddler could do that math. When we put more people in the same thing, and then that's going somewhere, that's it. We don't need, you know, 50 cars going around. So it's about, I don't know, it's common sense even sometimes.
I'm wondering where urbanization plays in all of this, because we have increasingly dense cities around the world, and you know, we live out in the country. We have local produce. It's easy to shop local. It's not so easy to shop local when you're living in a city with 5 million people. Any thought? I mean, this is a real challenge, I think, moving forward. Is how do we take care of the people that are in densely populated areas? Because I think it affects not just climate change, but a whole number of other issues as they relate to sustainable development goals. Anybody have a thought on that?
Yeah, I would like to say that we are part of the UN Habitat World Urban Campaign, and we're having these conversations regarding that in 2050 we are going to have more than 40 percent of people living in cities. So regarding this issue, that we're having more people living in the cities, there are a lot of urbanists, architects that they're thinking and developing initiatives to rethink the cities in a way that we have the connections as people, as individuals, we could get all the services around in 50 minutes. That's a model that in Paris was implemented, and they are trying to connect that practice with different huge cities and to trying to develop solutions from the cities. But I think this is one of the main issues is the political decision. I think we have a lack regarding political leadership, that we really need that decision to make the changes in our communities, in our cities that we really need. And I think that's the main point, to get all the actions regarding and the tools that we need to implement from the high level at the bottom level. But it's when you have leaders that they don't believe in climate change, that they deny that this situation, that makes this worse. So I think that's our main challenge, to change that political mindset everywhere globally, because that will give us the key solution for the implementation of the innovation that from the science, from the different sectors of the society we are trying to develop. But the political part is really important, and I think that we don't have to miss that point. I fully agree with Nidia regarding the meat production and all the things that we need to try to solve in a creative way, but also in a positive way, because people live, a lot of communities live with from these sectors, and we need to be very careful in the implementation too.
Okay, thank you, Analia. We've got about 6 minutes.
Hi, Jeff. Okay.
And
okay.
I'm wondering if we can offer some final thoughts. If the panelists
Sure.
some final thoughts. Pearl?
Jeff, if you don't mind, yes, I wanted to share one final image actually that was in my presentation, and it really is a message of hope. So I love what the different panelists have spoken about. Analia has spoken, Nidia's also mentioned it. Just in trying to look at how can we piecemeal this, it can get overwhelming if you're looking at it as a whole. I love what Analia is saying about the enabling environment policy. So if you look at our company, for example, we're working on different areas, but at the same time, we recognize the urgency in starting to do things to move the needle. So I'm speaking from the city of Lagos, which has 50 million people. We talk about densely populated areas. So let me just show you, I think it's a message of hope because it certainly gives me hope. So if you look at this, let me share my screen again. If you look at this image, can you see this? Okay, so you can see this image. And whilst we're waiting and working on the policy side with different people and trying to institute policies that can be changed and will move the needle, if you have a look at the lady on the right-hand side, and it's a personal story for me because that is an example of, like I said, the private sector just trying to move things along. She was a widow, and she's one of the major beneficiaries of this partnership with recyclers. Now, some of these sums that I'll mention will seem insignificant, but I can assure you it's pretty huge when you contextualize how much people are earning a day. And on average, in the community that I mentioned, they're earning $1.70 a day. Iya, who's next to me, basically is widowed now, but from the funds that she's raised purely from recycling plastic in the community, she's been able to earn approximately $2,200 a year. Now, compared to what she was earning previously, that was about $620, and that was combined income with her husband. Iya is earning over 3 times as much as she was earning when her husband was alive. This basically, as I was mentioning to you, we're working on the health nexus. You're talking about a woman who was struggling to maybe pay the school fees for the children. Doing this, we are basically hitting the climate change agenda. We're bringing it to a level that she understands. We're helping the environment in that particular place. And also, there's a multiplier effect. So if these children are being educated, and obviously you're looking at things like better healthcare for them. And it's just, again, just empowerment that hopefully starts to multiply and move along the entire family and hopefully the people that will start to rely on them later on. So it's an example of something that can start to happen immediately that is not overwhelming. And I love forums like this because I think it's beautiful because it allows people to take it, modify it, replicate it all over the world. So I just wanted to share that as a message of hope. If you look at the right hand, the middle picture, you can see lots of the recyclers, workers, and I guess the percentage is pretty much predominantly women. Again, it's one way to minimize time out of school. We're looking at it from the gender equality perspective as well. So instead of these children missing out on school and walking, they're able to just do the plastic because the plastic can be collected, stored at home and deposited at these hubs at convenient times. We have a lady on the left-hand side who is upcycling tires, all the tires from the organization and moved over to them. They're basically, again, just more than quadrupling the amount of income that they would earn from converting tires that were already disbanded or were going to pollute the environment into furniture that is bought in the more urban areas within Lagos. So I'll stop here for now.
Great, thank you, Pearl. That was a great and motivating example. Fatoumata, do you want to?
Yes, actually, I wanted to emphasize on the fact that the cost of renewable resources is decreasing over time. So it makes it more feasible than ever to focus on it. And actually, from like the perspective on Africa, we need to like have more awareness on the socio-economic benefits and health benefits of using renewable resources. And also women, like it's the energy access frees up time for women who usually have to spend more time trying to find fuel, wood, and so it gives them more flexibility to focus on other tasks. So it's definitely something that we can look moving forward.
Very good, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Analia?
Well, I think that as women, we have a lot of passion about this theme. We have a really commitment, and I think that's amazing. We need to work more together, connecting us as a network. And also I would like to invite you all to write in this special issue that we are doing through the journal, the special issue about sustainable entrepreneurship around the globe. And so thank you all.
Thank you for the plug, Analia. And Nidia.
Yes, I'll just quickly say, you know, we talked about, I love that example per show because it's about empowerment. I think a lot of this is about empowerment. It's not just, you know, it's that hope, and then that hope is contagious. And I think everything you do is important, but a big role we are all going to play is on education. I think we need to educate, we need to think about the way we're also raising our children, even if you don't have children, if you know children, and to you know, have them connected with other people, connect themselves, get their hands dirty and really help out. And that's something that I'm really scared when I look around and I think how everyone is in silos. I think we really need to get together in any way we can, and then, you know, really break those silos. And the way to get there is really education.
Terrific. Thank you very much to our panelists. It looks like the next session is about ready to go. I keep getting these flashes. Co-host is now here. So to the panelists, thank you very much. For your information, for everybody's information, all these sessions are being recorded and will be available through the ICSB archives. So again, thanks. Great session. I learned a lot. I'm very much encouraged by the activities and actions that are being taking place. So thanks very much and have a good day. Bye-bye.